I was 22 years old when this happened. I worked in a grocery store, which had been featured in the news. You could see me in the clip, and it was clear where I worked. I just came back from vacation, and a coworker told me that some guy had been coming around every day for a week asking for me. When I asked who or why, they told me they had no idea, but he was around my age and seemed a little off. A few hours passed by, and my coworker came and told me that the guy was back, and again asking for me. Let's call him James. In the back room, we had a computer, and you could see all the camera footage from all over the store. I looked and didn't recognize who James was, but decided to go ask what he wanted. He was clearly drunk and said that he had seen me on TV and wanted to ask me out. I replied with, "I'm sorry, but I'm in a relationship," even though I was single. I said I needed to get back to work, and he asked me if he should come with me. He then left, but I could see him through the cameras outside the store drinking. A few hours passed by, and he was still waiting for me outside, so I had to use another exit when I left. The next day, I came to work and saw him waiting for me outside the store. He had a huge smile on his face and walked up to me. He was really shy and didn't say a word. He followed me inside and said he needed to talk. He was really creepy, and I replied, "I'm sorry, I have a boyfriend, remember?" As I was walking away, he started following me and asked if he should come help me with my work. Once again, I looked at the camera footage, and yet again, he was waiting for me outside. At this point, I started asking a male coworker to escort me safely to the tram every night when my shift ended. I started getting really scared once this had been going on for a while, and he clearly wouldn't leave me alone. I asked my brother if he could drive me to work on his motorcycle and hug me outside my workplace. I started getting messages like, "Is that your boyfriend?" and "He doesn't need to know if we go out." I was confused of how he had gotten my number. I asked all of my coworkers, and a new one said she'd given my number because he had said he's a friend of mine. I was pissed. At this point, I asked my male coworkers to throw him out if he ever came back, which was a lot. A couple of weeks went by without any harassment, and I finally thought he had left me alone. Boy, was I wrong. I came to work one day and was in the changing room and heard that we have a new coworker. I looked in horror as she asked me what's wrong. I said, "I know, this is the creep that has been stalking me for weeks," as James smiled. I went and searched for my boss to ask him what the fuck. My boss said he had no idea that this was my stalker and kind of laughed it off as no big deal. I told him either he leaves or I will. He said that I wouldn't have to work the same shift as James and he couldn't fire him. I had a lot of shifts with him, and wherever I went, he followed without saying a word. I would often have my lunch break by the computer so I could see where he was. Every day I could see him just staring at me behind me as I ate. My boss finally understood what a freak James was and that he didn't do any work, just stalking. My boss started to think of ideas how to fire him. One time I noticed James was clearly drunk at work and told my boss. He got fired, and this is when the stalking finally stopped.